Hi everyone, it's Jessica here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. As you can tell by the title, today's video is about how to look for a job abroad. Now, if you have checked my vlogs for my business trips to Zurich, you know that I lived in Switzerland for almost 3 years. So I think I know one thing or two of the struggles and challenges that you face when you move abroad to look for a job. So if you're looking for a new adventure and need some tips, stay with me. But I'm gonna give you first some time to go there and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet. And I'm gonna stay right here while you do it. Okay, you did it? Perfect. Now let's get into this video. So there is so much information that I can share about this topic that I decided to divide it in 3 different sections. But in case you have further questions or further doubts, let's leave them in the comments down below and I will answer them, and if necessary I will even create a second part of the video. Just a little disclosure before we get started: if you hear any background noise, it's my dog, who is right here snoring, by the way. Apologies in advance. So the first section is mindset. I think it's very important to prepare your mindset before you even consider looking for a job abroad or you even get started. The first tip that I can give you is to be open-minded. Now, I know this sounds kind of basic because we all try to be to some sort of extent, right? But in this case, it's especially important, and to be even more aware of it when you go abroad. Because you're gonna be exposed to cultural differences on a daily basis, and people are gonna do things that you may not like or you might disagree with. And you always have, and my recommendation to you is always to take a step back and think if what that person is doing affects others or not. And if it doesn't affect others, then what's the point on judging them? I think it's important to be very wise about who are you sharing your opinions with and how. And this is especially important because it's gonna make your transition smoother into your new country. My intention is not to preach here how you should be as a person, by no means. It's more about helping you be aware of these things, because you can avoid certain awkward situations and make your integration easier. And this leads me to my next advice, which is adapt to change. Sometimes you're gonna have to not only be careful of how you express your opinions on the things that you dislike about your new culture, but you're gonna have to implement some of those things into your life. And I can give you an example about that. When I first moved to Switzerland, the first thing I found out in my apartment is that the washing machine was in the basement. And I couldn't believe it. There was just one for the whole building, and we basically had to go there, check out if it was available, and if it was, I could use it, and if not, I had to wait. Later on, I found out that this is a very common practice in Switzerland. In many buildings, they have the washing machine in the basement, and they even have a calendar where they assign 1 day per apartment so that people can go and do their laundry on that date for the whole month. And this is insane. It was really hard for me at the beginning, because imagine you have a date on Saturday and you want to wear that fancy dress that you have, but it's dirty, and you want to get it clean before that date. You can't. You have to wait 3 more weeks until the washing machine is available for you. How convenient, right? Well, that wasn't easy, but I can tell you that those kind of things are annoying and they are frustrating, but it doesn't make any sense to resist to the change. The sooner you adapt to it and you figure out a way to make it work for you, the better it will be. So keep that in mind. You will have a lot of things like this one that you will have to follow and adapt into your daily life. So the more open-minded you are and the easier you adapt to the change, the better it will be for you. Now, my next advice for you is be independent. You might already have your own apartment in your hometown, and you might have financial independence, and you may know how to cook, how to clean, and all that jazz. And that's great. That's something that you can already manage and control. Better for you. But that's not what I mean. What I mean is being emotionally independent. Are you the type of person who likes to take some day off and enjoy with yourself, just alone? Or you are more the kind of person that only spends time with yourself when your friends cannot make it or your family members are not available and you're just stuck with yourself? If that's the case, if you're kind of the first ones, you're good to go. But if you're not used to spend time with yourself and actually enjoy it, you need some work to do. Basically, you're gonna be spending a lot of time by yourself when you arrive to your new country. Even if you know someone, one person or two, they have their own lives and you don't want to see yourself struggling out of loneliness and feeling sad and moody just because you don't have anyone to hang out with. And it might take a while to meet new people and make new friends. Maybe not, but chances are that that's gonna take a while. Depending on the culture of the country you're going to, people are more open or more reserved and it's harder to break in. So my advice to you is to do the following. Take a Saturday off or a Sunday or any day of the week to spend it with yourself. But take it as something really exciting. And go, for example, to have lunch at a restaurant and have lunch by yourself. But I don't mean those kind of restaurants where you just go, order your food at the counter and sit down. Instead, go to one of those restaurants where the waiter comes to you, takes your order and brings your food. You might feel at the beginning that it's a little bit awkward and uncomfortable, but do it anyway and try to focus on yourself. Don't take your phone right away just to keep you company or call anybody. Just spend the day with yourself. And believe me, the sooner you learn this, the better it will be for you, because the only company that you will have for sure, guaranteed, your whole life until you die, it's yours. So the sooner you learn to have fun with yourself, the better. You will realize that you don't need anyone, that you only need yourself. And when you spend some time with people, it's because you prefer to spend time with them, not because you need it. And this is so healthy for any relationships in your life. That was a big learning for me as well, because at the beginning, when you move to a new country, it takes time to meet new people, to make new friends, especially authentic friendships, people you can really rely on in case you need something, and people you feel like comfortable enough to share your personal things with. I think it's important that you get used to be with yourself and actually enjoy it. My next advice is prepare for the worst. Now, I'm not trying to be super dramatic here, but I think it's important that you come with the right expectations, that you arrive to your new country knowing that things may not go as planned and that bad things can happen. And when I mean bad, I mean you might arrive with a job but you might get fired, or you might have problems in your apartment, you might want to move out, and all of these complicated situations that can cause you stress. You need to be prepared for them and know that they might happen. But knowing this in advance is going to be less dramatic for you, instead of thinking that everything's going to go perfectly fine and you're never going to have any problem. The next part of the video is going to be about logistics. Once you're mentally prepared for everything, now we can think about what do we need to know before starting looking for a job and arriving to your new country. First and foremost, research. I think this is the most important thing of all. Do your research. And when I mean research, I don't mean just getting a general overview of your new country, your new city. No, I mean find out things from, are there different local languages? Do you need to learn it to be able to work there, or is it English enough? Do you need a visa? Do you need a work permit? Find out the cost of living in general, the rental prices, the groceries, how much do the groceries cost per month, taxes, medical insurance, transport, etc. I think you need to find out everything. It's very important that you calculate the cost so that you have an idea of an estimate of how much money you should earn to make a decent living, and also to know how many savings you need to bring with you before you arrive, because that's going to determine as well in how long you're going to be able to go. Because sometimes if the amount of savings that you need to bring with you it's large and you don't have that money right now, you might need 2 months, 6 months or maybe a year to save up enough to be able to go. So it's very important that you do that right away and start considering the different options. Next to consider within the logistics is if you have any connection. Connections are a great resource. They are very handy in case you need help, especially at the beginning of those early days where you need a lot of emotional support because you feel a little bit lost, everything is new to you, there are many changes going on, and knowing someone, a familiar face, is always very helpful. You also need to think about how you're going to do it with the accommodation. Are you going to rent a place before you arrive, or do you want to go there and find a place while you're there? Then you need to figure out the cost of paying for a hotel, if you're not staying at a friend's place, and all these sort of things. I think this is important to consider because it affects your budget of savings before you go, and also determine again the time that you need to wait until you can actually go. Now, we move into my last section of this video, which is the job search. There are two options for this. You can whether search for the job while you're still at your home country, and until you don't find it, you don't move, or move there, take the risk, and wait until and apply for the jobs already at the country, at the destination country, and just apply every day until you find your job. What is gonna determine which option is best? Basically money. I think it's better if you're already at the country when you start looking for the job, especially because if they call you for an interview this afternoon, you can show up. And if you are in your home country, it's a little bit more challenging. However, in both cases, it's possible. I did it with the second option. I was in my home country, I was living in Barcelona back in the day, and I was applying for jobs. For me, the first option was not an option. I had to wait until I got my job to be able to move to Switzerland. The cost of living in Switzerland is crazy expensive compared to the one in Spain. So the cost of the rental of an apartment there is basically 1 month's salary here, depending on the apartment and depending on the job, obviously. But more or less you get the idea of the high difference in prices. So I needed to wait until I would have my job there to be able to quit my current job in Barcelona at the time and then move to Switzerland. So it's possible. It just takes longer and it's a little bit more challenging in terms of interviews, but everything is possible. And I'm gonna tell you how. The way I did it to find my job, I basically used LinkedIn. I know there are many local websites where you can find job offers as well, especially in Switzerland and any country really. In Spain we have other different ones as well. But I just realized that all the job offers posted in those websites are also on LinkedIn. So I think LinkedIn is super efficient, is very user-friendly, so I just ended up just using that tool and it worked out just fine. And it's also great to find people and connections. I would recommend you to start creating a network on your LinkedIn profile and start working on it as soon as possible. And remember, before you start, that looking for a job is a job on itself. So be prepared to work really hard. And if you already have a job, you're probably gonna be very tired when you come home, but you still gotta open the laptop and work on it. Regardless, no excuses. If you want to do this and you want it really bad, you have to put work in every single day. It's very important because the sooner you do it, the better, especially if you're applying from your home country. You need to dedicate time daily because it might take up to a year. It took me a year to find a job. I know it sounds like a lot, a year, but sometimes whether you're not a fit for the company or you end up not liking the company so much or their values or the offer they give to you is not enough based on the cost that you had calculated previously. So there are many factors involved playing a role here, so just be prepared for the fact that it might take a really long time until you can actually go. But it's all about how bad you want it and how much work are you willing to put in. If you really want to go and you're willing to put the work in, just keep on doing this, it will happen. That's for sure, it will come, I can tell you that. But sometimes you will want to give up, which is totally normal, especially after going through selection processes that drain you completely. with three or four different phases, and when you are right at the end thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna get it, then you end up being disappointed for whatever reason. This can happen, and it's really tough to start all over again, but you have to do it. That happened to me many times, and what I did was allow myself one day to cry, dwell on my disappointment and feel sorry for myself, but the next day I kicked myself on my bum and I started working on it again. But that's the way life is. Sometimes it's just hard and it takes time to get the things we want, but you keep putting the work in and the result will come. Now, other than applying for jobs in LinkedIn, what you can do is basically reach out to headhunters proactively. Look for headhunters in the area that are always looking for candidates located in the area you want to move to, and approach them proactively, telling them you're interested in finding a job in the area and that you can provide certain skills. Just mention them there, what kind of value you could provide to a company and what kind of things you're looking for, so that headhunter can also help you find really good options for you. Once you've tried to apply for open positions in LinkedIn and reach out to headhunters in the area, other thing you can do is try to find really cool companies that you would love to work for in the area you're moving to, and search for people who work at that company, at the department you're interested in, and write them over through LinkedIn. Sometimes you have this option where you can contact them. Tell them all the wonderful things you could give them and all the value you could provide to the company, and to let you know if there are any open positions so that you can apply. I think this is something very good to do besides applying for open positions already, because it's going to create a lot more visibility for you. Other than the things that I mentioned, which are basically the standards of looking for a job, there are other things that you can do. If you're already at the country where you want to find your job, then try to show up at the company you want to work for and wait for the hiring manager to be available. If he's not available on that day, come the next day and try to get 5 minutes face-to-face with him or her and introduce yourself. I think this is the best, most effective way to do it, because it's gonna make you stand out from the crowd. However, if you're not in the country and you don't have this option, then other thing you can do is just be more creative. For example, I remember recently I watched a TV show that was filmed a while ago already, but it was about fashion, and there were many fashion brands featured in the show. They were giving advice to interns that wanted to get into the industry and what kind of things they could do to get in. Well, I remember at the Man Repeller offices, probably you know, it was founded by Leandra Medin, and she was saying how one of the interns sent a box of cereal with her whole CV written down in there, where she was just outstanding her skills and, I don't know, the value that she could bring to the company, but instead of putting on a paper, she sent a box of cereal. I mean, how genius is that? Everyone at the office had to have a look at the box of cereals because it was such a genius idea that everyone wanted to check it out. There you have it. That's just one example of the plenty of things you can do to attract hiring managers' attention. Now, before I finish this video, there is just one more thing I want you to prepare for, which is a question that, regardless of your age, gender, and country that you're gonna be moving to, they are gonna ask you. Why should they hire you over someone that is already living in the country? Why is it worth the investment and the risk of hiring someone who has never lived in the country before over someone who is already there? Because in this case, you're just not talking about the value that you're going to bring to the company, but more than that, how can they make sure that even if you love the job and you're bringing amazing value to the company, you're not going to quit after 2 months because you can't stand the humidity or the cold weather in the country or whatever, you know? You need to prepare yourself to convince them that you're perfectly prepared for the job and that you're gonna be perfectly integrated in the country and you're not gonna regret your decision of moving there 2 months after. Now that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys liked this video and that I could help you out and give you some valuable advice. If that's the case, please give it a thumbs up because that would help me out a lot. And in case you have any questions that I didn't cover in this video, please give them down below in the comments and I will make sure I will answer each one of them. And if necessary, I will film a second part of the video to cover them all. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you an amazing week and I will see you on my next one. Bye!